A lovely girl is shown at the start named Greta Evans. She has come to the UK because she has got the job of a granny. She has got a job as a caretaker and this was a rich family. Greta enters the house and takes off her shoes outside because the whole house was completely carpeted. Greta meets a boy while exploring the house, and his job was to supply weekly as this supplier was charming and funny. Then she meets the head of the house and his wife and they tell her she has to take care of their son. The shocking thing was when they make Greta meet their son, and whom they were calling their son was just a doll. They were behaving with the doll like it is a living thing. Greta ignores them and she was taking all this as fun. Later, she realizes that this was reality and the head and his wife were serious about their son. Then something strange happens that her shoes disappear which she removed outside the house. The head's wife says this must be done by her son. That night, the couple tells Greta that their son liked her. "You are the first caretaker whom our son liked," and the head tells Greta he has to go out of the house for his job. After him, Greta will handle the responsibility of the house. Before leaving, the head tells the rules of the house to Greta. Those were strange rules and she has to follow them, and the first rule was Greta has to awake their son in a loud voice. Then she has to change the clothes of the head's son, and the second rule was that Greta has to tell their son a story in a loud voice. Because their son likes all this and he tells the last rule that Greta has to play the songs in loud voice. The left food will not be wasted so store it in the freezer, and you have to fix the rat trap outside the house daily. So the rats will not enter the house. The head leaves with his wife after telling these rules to Greta. She becomes relaxed and doesn't take it seriously and even don't follow any rules. Greta was alone at home and starts talking to her sister while calling her on the landline. She tells her about her old friend and was telling her that her friend asks about her even today. Greta's friend was an evil man. Greta likes him but he hits her. Greta has come here for a job because of this. Greta was enjoying herself in the house calmly and then realizes that the doll is changing its place. Greta talks to the supplier in the next scene and he tells the son of the head who died 20 years ago in the fire. Since then this family considers this doll their son here. Their bonding was getting strong. The supplier invites her for a date and Greta takes out her favorite dress for a date. She goes for a shower and a strange shadow is seen here and it steals the dress and jewelry of Greta. Greta returns after taking shower but doesn't find her dress and jewelry. She becomes worried and feels that maybe there is someone except for her in this house. Greta sees a strange room and when she goes inside someone shuts the door. The supplier who has come outside the house for picking up Greta he rings the bell repeatedly. He calls Greta but how she can come she was trapped in that room. She shouts but her voice wasn't reaching the supplier but Greta wasn't answering even though he was ringing the bell and the supplier waits for so long. Then he leaves. Greta is shown who sees a strange shadow in the room. Greta's foot slips when she sees it, and she gets faint due to falling down. After some time the morning appears. In the morning the room's door opens and Greta comes downstairs through the stairs. After coming out of the room she calls the supplier and tells him the incidents happened to her at night. She tells that she hears strange voices from the walls of this house. Hearing all this, her friend says sit down let me tell you one thing. He tells the people says their son who died being burnt was weird once the head of the house told me being drunk that his son is odd. Hearing this, Greta thinks maybe there is their son's soul in this doll and the next day, Greta sees her shoes outside her room in a sequence. She sees the doll was sitting on the bed itself, and there was that paper on which the rules were written. The head has written the rules of the house on it which Greta has to follow them. Greta becomes frightened that she locks herself in a room. She has locked herself in the room and then the phone in her room suddenly rings. She picks the phone and there was that doll's voice and it whispers come let's play with me. It was calling Greta to play with it and was saying now it will behave nicely. Then she sees outside her room that someone has placed a sandwich outside. She understood there is their son's soul in the doll and now she was taking care of it. On another side, the head is shown with his wife. They were on vacation and ended up drowning in a river. They have left a letter for their son and one for Greta as well before dying. They have written strange things in it like now Greta's yours. The supplier is shown bringing the letters to Greta the next day written by the head and his wife. She ignores all this and was scared that she doesn't even want to go out of this house. She tells her friend that the doll often changes its place, and it does this when none was watching it and was thinking the soul of their son is shy. It doesn't want to appear in front of anyone, that's why it changes its place in the absence of the people. It uses to knock at the walls to communicate. Greta says to the supplier who is her friend that come let me show you a small proof. She places the doll in the room and shuts the door, and the doll has changed its place when she opens the door after some time. Her friend becomes shocked to see this and says listen to me there may be an evil spirit in it. The boy says Greta let me tell you a story of their son 20 years ago a girl uses to play with their son she was his friend. The girl disappeared on the 7th birthday of their son, and the police said they find her dead body in a forest. Her skull was badly crushed, and before the police investigates their house was set on fire. Their son died in that fire. Greta also tells him her past story and says, "My friend whom I liked, he used to beat me. That's why I come here, because of being annoyed by all this for a job." Then Greta's friend is shown arriving here as he has taken her address from her family member. He comes here to take Greta and also booked the tickets for the next day for themselves. He is the boy who has come here to take Greta, about whom she told that he used to beat her. He used to behave rudely with her, but now he comes here to take her, and Greta asks the doll for help. "Help me, I don't want to go with him." That night when everyone was sleeping, the blood of dead rats is shown falling on his face, and someone has written "Get out" with the blood on his window. The boy sees this and was feeling like Greta has done all this, and then warns her to break the doll that was placed there. He says, "Look Greta, if you will not move with me, I will break this doll." Meanwhile, the supplier also arrives and forbids the boy to break the doll. The boy was in anger and then hits the doll with the table. He breaks the doll, and as it breaks there were voices around the house. Suddenly, the mirror of the house breaks and he becomes injured due to it. The boy who came to bring Greta, a human, is shown appearing from the space of the mirror. There was a mask on his face, and this human ends the boy while attacking him. Here it discovers the human was none other than the son of that house's head. His name was Brahms, and it reveals that the house's head has been hiding his son for 20 years. This boy has murdered his friend 20 years ago, so his parents have hidden him in order to escape from the police. They show in front of everyone that their son is dead, but there wasn't anything like this. Their son was alive and was in this house, and Greta was feeling everything because of him. The head's son Brahms was still alive and doing all this, and Greta was considering the doll behind this. After ending Greta's friend, Brahm was behind the supplier and Greta. They were trying to hide from him and lock themselves in a room. The walls of the house were sealed, and they find out the way to go out of the house. They find a secret room that was inside the walls, and this was Brahms's room. Yes, he was living here for years. He has made a doll here, and Brahms has stolen Greta's clothes. He stole her clothes and wears them on his doll. Greta finds the last letter of the house head and gets shocked to read the letter. They left Greta in the house for this, and during this Brahms comes behind them. He beats Greta's friend brutally, and Greta has found the exit way of the house and she somehow moves out of the house. Brahms says while running, "Listen Greta, if you will not come back, I will end your friend the way I have ended everyone in the house." Greta runs from the house, but then she realizes she has to save her friend. After some time, she returns and says, "Look, Brahms, I come back just because of you." She has placed a screwdriver in her back pocket, and says to Brahms, "Look, you have to sleep according to the rules." Brahms obeys her and goes to sleep and asks for a good night kiss from her before sleeping. Before he comes closer to her, Greta attacks him with a screwdriver, and there was a fight between them and she makes Brahms injured. She moves far from the house while taking her friend in the car. Brahms is shown in the last scene of the movie. He was still alive and was joining his doll. And here the first of this